the most tremendous new musical experience you can have.
Joe Cocker, Jimi Hendrix, Sarah Vaughan, more Sarah Vaughan, and Buddy Rich. All that and more on This Week in Music History. When is it? This Week in Music History, March 31st. I think the leap year screwed me up so bad.
All right.
March 31st. I'll go
with
with that. April 6th. March 31st to April 6th. I'm Michael Cast, a.k.a. The Dirty Hippie.
I am Terrence Thomason, the clean host of On the Marquee and On the Marquee Deep Dive.
If you like movies, you got to check out those two, the YouTube channel and the podcast. Indeed. What have you got?
I've got March 31st, 1949, a fact that I was for certain that you would have written down. RCA Victor?
RCA Victor.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to write this down anyways, but I know Michael's going to catch this one too. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they unveil the 45. In hand with this, they release a new record player, similar to what we mentioned last week, which could hold up to 10 singles at a time.
Yeah.
You want to talk about 45 a little bit?
The 45, I think, changed. Like if you look at a lot of blues, recordings, they're mostly done on 45s. This is before Blue Note came out, before a lot of blues albums. Because I'm always curious about the B-sides.
Right.
Like, I know what the single is, the hit, but what's the B-side? Sometimes the B-side of a 45 is better than the hit. So I think also it gave the listening public, you didn't have that huge outlay at the time, I guess, you didn't have to buy the entire album. You could just buy the single. Yeah. Plus you get that bonus on the other side. And and they had to buy new equipment. So RCA did. I mean, they're the same people that came out with the compact disc player. Right? Yeah. Oh, no, that was Panasonic. No.
Yeah. I don't remember now. I think it might have been Panasonic, actually.
Maybe.
But
yeah. So I think it revolutionized. Listening at that time.
Yeah. And I feel the same way you too about. I'm always more interested in the B-side because I think a lot of times the A-side sometimes is chasing whatever the flavor of the month is, right? Like, we got to do this just like that because that was a hit, or the last song was a hit, so we're going to do another version.
Yeah.
But the B-side sometimes is like, let's just try this out, see if there's any taste for this, and that's far more interesting to me.
I know with the blues, with my blues show on CFIS, I'm surprised at the number of B-side songs that are better than the A side. Yeah. So that's 1949.
Yeah.
I've got 1970 and 1976. April 3rd.
Oh, nope, I don't have those.
Joe Cocker.
Okay.
1970.
All right.
Plays his first gig.
Oh, really?
1970. I thought it was earlier. I thought he was around earlier. Right? Joe Cocker.
So did I.
Soul singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised, 1970. And 1976, the Sex Pistols played their first gig.
I saw that, and I did not write that one down.
You didn't write it down,
no.
Yeah. I thought because that changed a lot.
Yes.
That changed a lot. I think a lot of people fought that book that you gave me, the history. I was reading the introduction about the author, and the author was saying that when he first heard punk, even though his family background is in African traditional music, but he said when he first heard punk, he realized that you didn't have to listen to something that everybody else was listening to.
Right.
And I think he was that anti-flower power
Yeah.
Right? It was
It's
the
a
antithesis
response.
to it.
Yeah. He says, well, it's not the Sex Pistols, but out of the same vein, The Clash in London Calling, it says phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you don't have to agree with that statement, but it's the sentiment behind it is that's over. Now it's our time.
Yeah, that's what's driving us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I've got another one on the 31st, 1967. One that I did not know. This was interesting to me. Jimi Hendrix sets his Stratocaster on fire for the first time in London's Astoria Auditorium, not at Monterey Pop. I didn't know Monterey Pop wasn't the first time.
Woodstock. Did he set it on fire in Woodstock? Or was that Monterey?
I know he did at Monterey. I don't think he did at Woodstock, actually.
I thought, too. I thought it was an outdoor venue. I didn't realize he'd done it in an indoor venue.
Previously,
in London.
Yeah.
Where they seem to appreciate Jimi Hendrix far quicker than they did in the United States.
Yeah, as soon as he got over there, his career takes off suddenly,
And I love his... So we were talking about the blues last week, W.C. Handy. W.C. Handy, who influenced Buddy Guy.
Yeah.
Who influenced Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
1970. I talked about this. I talked about this woman. I remember the first time I listened to her. It was the boy from Ipanema.
Okay. Yeah.
And Sarah Vaughan passes away. So a week after her birthday, she passes away. If you get a chance, I think she's incredibly underrated, but she does have a lot of accolades, Sarah Vaughan, for just when you listen to Sarah Vaughan, you know it's like when you listen to Billie Holiday, you know it's Billie Holiday.
Right.
When you listen to Sarah Vaughan, you know it's Sarah Vaughan. I could listen to Sarah Vaughan almost all day. Yeah. She passes away 1970, April 3rd.
And she was how old? Do you have that?
I don't have that down.
Do you know how did she pass away?
Just a heart attack.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, well,
that's life, I guess.
She was born in 28.
Okay. So yeah, it's not like she was 35.
No.
All right. I've got one more for the 31st.
Okay.
Johnny B. Good is released as a single by Chuck Berry. I did not write down the year, but I'm guessing 55? Yeah, somewhere around there, probably.
Yeah.
What's the album? I want to say Berry's on Top or some play on his last name. Anyways,
sure.
Another guy that influenced Jimmy.
Influenced
all of them, yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, Little Queenie, Chuck Berry's. So the Stones came out. They curated the top 20 blues songs. It wasn't on Blue and Lonesome. They curated it, and that was one of the. So they curated an album that was their most influential on them.
I see.
And that was Chuck Berry was in there. Of course, I mean.
Of course, yeah. They're before they started writing their own stuff. They've got a lot of Chuck Berry songs in the catalog. Yeah. And then I've got 1984, April 1st. I don't know if you've got this one.
No.
I'm guessing that at the time there might have been some fans of this artist that thought maybe it was a cruel April Fool's joke. But Marvin Gaye is shot by his father.
By his father.
Yeah.
Only a couple days after his birthday, or the day after.
Yeah, the day before his 45th birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his dad felt that he wasn't living up to Christian.
Yeah, I think he had a quite a religious upbringing, and his dad thought that he was a sinner.
Yeah, and that's a little. I mean, we don't know, right? Mental illness, whatever.
Knows?
Yeah. Shame, because there's another one where I would like to have seen how, there's so many artists that given the technology we have today, what would they be doing?
Right.
What would they be doing?
Especially considering what he towards where he started to where he was going at the time. Yeah, it was interesting.
Some of my favorite stuff, like What's Going On.
Yeah, that whole album is so good.
Yeah, and the ringtone I have for your mom. Let's Get It On. Is that too much information?
What else do I have written down here?
1958. 1958 was a first. April 5th, 1958 was the very first greatest hits LP ever produced.
In 1958?
1958. Who? It was hugely successful.
All right.
And it was Johnny Mathis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would have never guessed.
Yeah, me neither.
But it's set in motion like how many. Every band I've ever known, every artist I've ever known has come out with a greatest hits. It's like, well, let's come out with the greatest hits. Some bands have a greatest hits before they even have an album out, right? Like, who are these guys' greatest hits?
Yeah, somehow bands, their greatest hits are just like their first album. It's like, this is the first album with 2 new songs.
Yeah. Or, like, to me, I think you need to reach a certain plateau before you have a greatest hits, because I think you would need a certain number of hits.
That's what I think, too. Right? Like, you should have at least been around a little while, or been like the Beatles, like a huge success or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Something to draw from. So like a discography that you can really like dig into and draw from, and maybe some of them are top, Billboard top 100 hits, and some of them are maybe they weren't hits, but they were critically acclaimed, or the band really loves them,
or fan favorites, right?
Yeah,
the fans demand them at the shows or something.
Yeah, because there's just tons of music out there that we as fans, before the algorithm spoon-fed us what it thought we should listen to, there was stuff, and this goes back to the 45s, right? The B-sides, that I was like, wow, there's some songs on this LP that I really, really like that aren't hits. It's not a hit. Yeah. But I really like it.
Yeah, it's funny to me sometimes when I'll see, well, online now, but like polls of people saying what their favorite song is from an artist, and just finding like, oh, everybody likes this song that was not a hit or a single, but it just has connected with the audience of X band. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. April 2nd, 1987, Buddy Rich dies.
Buddy Rich?
69 years old.
Wonderful jazz drummer.
Showman.
Yeah. Did he play... Oh, no, there was Buddy Rich, and there was...
Max?
Max Roach. There was... I can't remember now. Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. Was it Gene Krupa that played... No, it was Buddy Rich, I think. You got to listen to a Duke Ellington song where he opens with the drums, and it's like, once you get that in your head, you'll never get it out. You'll recognize it for sure. Yeah. Great drummer.
Yeah. You got anything else? I got 2 more.
Okay, go for it.
April 3rd, 1962, something completely different, actually, to what we've mostly talked about, is the birth of Mike Ness. He is the guitarist, vocalist, songwriter of Social Distortion, punk band, if you couldn't tell by the name. Founded in 1978. They've released 7 albums between 83 and 2011. They're still together. But Ness, I think this last June, was diagnosed with tonsil cancer, which is just stage 1, and he should be fine. Mm-hmm. But Social Distortion is very heavily influenced by early rock and roll and Johnny Cash. Mike Ness, I believe, is quite good friends, has collaborated quite a lot over the years with Bruce Springsteen. So it's sort of an idea of the the direction or the flavor of punk rock that Social Distortion is.
Didn't Johnny Cash do a song with Social Distortion?
Maybe they have covered Ring of Fire. It's one of their like bigger singles in as far as like what common.
Yeah, because I know before he died, he had done some really cool, like Johnny Cash. Before he had done some really cool stuff. He was working with some people. And interesting, what a career. Like, he's had an interesting career, Johnny Cash.
Yes, ups and downs and all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Social Distortion.
And then lastly, the same day, April 3rd, 1949, the birth of Richard Thompson. Formerly the guitar player, songwriter of Fairport Convention. He goes solo. He also released 6 albums with his then wife, Linda Thompson. Mentioning it because I am a fan of 2 of those albums. I Want to See the Bright Lights, which was released in 1974, and Shoot Out the Lights in 1982. Those are great albums, great simple songs, and he's quite renowned guitar player, Richard Thompson.
I looked it up.
Okay, and
no, but they did. Social Distortion did a lot of covers. They did Ring of Fire. They did Folsom Prison Blues. They did. Actually, and then there's a YouTube video you can look at where Mike Ness talks about covering Johnny Cash. Yeah.
There we go.
That's it. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dirty Hippies, This Week in Music History, March 31st to April 6th. And thank you once again to my co-host, Terrence Thomas. And if you want to check out movie stuff, man, go check out On the Marquee on YouTube and On the Marquee Deep Dive. That's Terrence's podcast. This episode was recorded at the Arts North Podcast Studio in Prince George, British Columbia. As always, we've got our playlists, so go check those out. And if you want to find out more about the Dirty Hippie, go to dirtyhippiebc.com, man. Hey, and there's even some bling there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Peace.